welcome back to my channel. For those of you who haven't seen any of my videos, I'm Nikki and I am a mama to Ari Bug right here. Say cheese! Silly guy, he loves to be on camera. If you happen to hear any fun noises in the back, it's because I have all his toys going to try and keep him occupied. His little basketball hoop. So at this age, I have to keep him occupied as much as I can because he tries to get into everything he's not supposed to. Okay. So it's been a while since I've posted anything. Maybe a little over a month. It's kind of hard to juggle YouTube, 9-month-old, full-time job, house, etc., blah, 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 you know, the whole thing. So I try to do as much as I can, and anytime that I can, I try to post videos. And I do have a few pending videos that I am going to be posting here, so just bear with me. So this one today, I'm going to just kind of go over my birth story. It was an interesting one, and there was a lot to it, so I thought it would be great for you guys to kind of just listen in and see what happened, and maybe for those of you who are going to be expecting, maybe you guys can just kind of take it into consideration on how to help yourself a little bit better. I kind of felt like in my situation I had no choice. I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first pregnancy, my first birth. I didn't know all the precautions and just kind of and just anything like that. This is how we're gonna be in this video, mister. Say hi. Hi, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Alright, guys. Okay, so here's my birth story. So my son was supposed to be due on November 4th, and he ended up coming on November 11th. I went to my doctor's appointment on my due date, November 4th. I had them check my dilation, and I was a 0.5. So when they checked my dilation, maybe a week and a half before that, at my 38th week appointment, maybe my 39th week appointment, they checked me and I was still a 0.5. So at that point, it's been a little over a week and I was not dilating. So they didn't sweep my membrane because I tested positive for that strep B infection. So they said that if they were to sweep my membrane, it is harmful to the baby as to myself. So they avoided that completely. So it was all kind of up to the baby when he wanted to just make his grand entrance. You can't have this. I'm trying to do a video of my son. So apparently all the toys I have on his floor aren't keeping him occupied because he wants the phone, which he doesn't get anyways. Okay, so they avoided that, and it was basically up to the baby when he wanted to make his grand entrance, right? So at my 40th week appointment, still a 0.5. Okay, now it's the waiting game. 41 weeks come along and he's still not here. So at that point, I want to set up an induction date. I was able to talk to my doctor before then, and I said I want to be induced. I want to get him out because now it's at 41 weeks, and it was possible. So what they told me was go home, wait until that following Monday. So that Monday, I don't know if it was that Monday was supposed to be the 10th, maybe, and then they would induce me. Well, the 9th, November 9th, I felt this weird pain, and then when I was in bed, it was like maybe 2:30 in the morning, I felt water. I didn't feel that big gush of water like everybody says there is. Everyone says that when your water breaks, there's this huge rupture, this huge gush of water. Unfortunately, I didn't feel that, but I did feel excessive leaking, and it was just minimal amounts, so I was confused. So at 2:30 in the morning, I go and I call my doctor, and I'm like, hey, I'm having minimal leakage, and it's not going away. And she said, okay, we'll do this. Go put a pad on, and immediately after you put the pad on, if you continue to leak, then I want you to come in. So I said, okay. So I hung up the phone, and I waited maybe an hour, and within an hour, I used 2 pads. It wasn't a lot, but I was still leaking. So I came in. So by the time it was like maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, I go to the hospital. I check into labor and delivery. I kind of let them know what's going on. And they check me. They check to see if my water did break. They check to see if I was ruptured at all. And they check to see if my dilation had gone up. Well, I was ruptured. My water did break, but it didn't break all the way. So it wasn't anytime soon that the baby had planned on coming. Are you talking too? Don't worry, you'll get to say your part because you had a rough time too. But so after I had gotten checked, I was still 0.5. I'm like, come on, it's been almost 3 weeks that I've been at 0.5, and he just wasn't dilating. And then my water did break and it did rupture, but not enough. And so they did keep me though. They said, because your water did rupture a little bit, that we need to keep you. So they moved me to the delivery room where I would have the baby. There's nothing I can really do at this point. So when I got into the delivery room, they gave me this little tiny white pill. It wasn't Pitocin. It wasn't to induce me or anything. It was just to kind of kick up the contractions and kind of get the baby going. So the short word for it was miso. So they gave me a little miso pill, and I took that. And at first I didn't feel anything, and it's already been a few hours, so it's already into the 10th. It's already into the 10th, and it's maybe 6 in the morning on the 10th, and I still haven't felt anything. So it was just a long few hours there, and there was nothing else they could do. I just had to continue to wait. So they gave me another one. And then what I did was eat food. I ate breakfast. Luckily, I was able to squeeze in some breakfast, because maybe by 8 a.m. on November 10th, my contractions were killing me. They were probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. It was not contractions you would normally feel. They were back contractions. So I was having back labor. And that basically, if you don't know what that feels like, it kind of feels like someone is sitting on your back and pushing you down while you're trying to push up. And it's like this pressure inside that's just terrible. Like, I was crying. It was the worst pain I ever felt. They told me to try and sit on an exercise ball, bounce. They said, do these exercises. They said to try and bend over to relieve the pressure and lay on the table. And I tried that. They said take a warm shower. I literally tried everything possible to get rid of the pain that I was in, because I was still 0.5 centimeters and I still wasn't dilating. So by 12 o'clock, I'm done. I'm so done. And they come and check me, and I'm still at 0.5. And I said, give me the epidural. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've tried everything. I'm not dilating. Just give me the epidural. So I got the epidural, by the way, which saved my life. Everyone says that the epidural is scary, and it's this long needle that goes in your back. Honestly, compared to the contractions you're having, that epidural feels like gold on your back. Like, as soon as they put that epidural into my back, it was like instant relief. I was able to relax. I was able to enjoy some TV, enjoy my family. I was able to breathe. No more tears. It was just, I was like, okay, I can do this. Well, epidural only lasts like 3 hours. So every 3 hours they had to come in and give me more epidural. They just kind of had to put a little bit more. And they also gave me this little button to press that you can just top it off a little bit, but did not work as well. I still needed my anesthesiologist to come in and just give me more. So some of you may have a higher pain tolerance. Me and pain, we don't mix. I can't stand any type of little pressure, any type of little pain. Oh yeah, you have tattoos. Yeah. It's different. Completely different. It sucked. It hurt. This labor, it was hard. So, they had to keep coming in and top it off. Luckily, my anesthesiologist was awesome and just made everything so comfortable. Now, I couldn't eat at this point because once you get the epidural, they don't allow food. So I'm starving and I want to eat, and all I can eat are these. I can eat Jell-O, I can drink water, and I can have like chicken broth. So it's only the 10th, midday, and I haven't eaten anything since maybe 6:30 that morning. So I get some rest. I was able to take a nap because I hadn't slept since 2:30 on the night, like 2:30, 2:30 that night in the morning. Sorry. Oh my gosh. And then I get some rest, wake up, do it all over again, and I'm still, it was like a constant, repetitive pain, and I just kept doing it. And then at that point all night, I had to, it got worse in the evening time, so maybe around, after they gave me the epidural, they gave me the Pitocin pill. They finally decided, okay, we're just going to induce you because this baby's not coming and you have the epidural. I know they say that the epidural can give you a C-section. At that point, I was like, I don't care. Just give me something to relieve this pain, and then hopefully this baby will make his grand entrance. Okay. The Pitocin around 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the 10th. And then, it started to kick in a little bit. I started getting more contractions. I started feeling more pain, more pressures, and then I was slowly starting to dilate, like slowly. So I didn't dilate to 1 until about 7 o'clock on the 10th that evening. And it was so slow. Like, I thought this baby was never going to come. So they gave me a little bit more Pitocin at like maybe 3 in the morning, on the 11th, and I'm still waiting for the dilation. So it literally, I wasn't dilating until maybe every 2 to 3 hours. I wasn't dilating, and they need you to dilate until 10 for you to start pushing. So it was literally just a constant drag the entire time. I was ready for this baby to come out. Like, I was ready. I was like, I need you to do whatever you can to get this baby out. I can't be in this pain anymore. I'm done. So, they kept checking on me. Multiple nurses came in and out. And I'm still waiting. So finally, it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm getting there. I'm dilating at like 8.5. I'm dilating at 9. So I'm just waiting and waiting for me to be at a 10. I was like, you guys can't do anything, seriously. And it sucks because when you test positive for that strep B, they don't check you often, because the more that they check you, the more prone you are to having a greater infection for when the baby comes out. So that was frustrating. Really, really frustrating. So I just kind of had to deal with it. And they came and checked on me literally like every 4 hours, I felt like, if not 5. I felt like they did not check on me enough. So that wasn't a good experience either. It was just super, super frustrating. So maybe around 3:30, I'm a 10. I'm like, okay, come in. I'm ready. Get this baby out. So they come in, and at this point, I'm exhausted. I haven't got good quality rest in almost 2 days. I've been in so much pain. I'm starving. I haven't eaten. I've been hit with so much medication. I was ready to push, but I wasn't ready to push. I knew that if I was to push, I had to use so much force and so much of my body muscle, and I just didn't have that in me. I didn't have any energy in me after that. So I was on the table, and she said, okay, she said, push, give me a good push. and I had to like push with my legs in this certain position, and if I moved like out of that position, it pushed the baby down, and I kept pushing the baby down because I couldn't get into the proper position because I didn't have the strength and I didn't have the energy. I kept saying, I can't do this, I can't do this, like this baby's not coming, I need you guys to get this baby out of me. Well, I continued to push. So I'm pushing and pushing and pushing. It's like 3:30. And I'm falling asleep on the table. Like I'm falling asleep on the table. I kept dozing off, and frustrated me is that I'm sleeping on the table in the middle of my delivery, and they don't suggest a C-section. They don't suggest to do anything to help me get this baby out. They just want me to push, and I'm like, I have no strength. How am I gonna push this baby out? At this point, this baby has been in the birth canal for so long. It's like 6:30 and I'm still pushing. So it's been about 3 hours and I'm still pushing. I'm still falling asleep on the table. She put my child in danger. She knew that something was going to be wrong, and she could have took action, and she could have given me a C-section. I know C-sections can be very dangerous, but it probably could have came out a whole lot different, and I could have gotten that bond with my child if it wasn't for her. She pulled my son out and she used the suction. My son was in the canal and he was stuck, so he wasn't breathing, and the way she suctioned him out made his head come out the way he was and made it 10 times worse. He was in there for as long as he was because of that. His head was maybe this, here's his head, and it looked kind of like a cone head. And then you see the respiratory action just come in the room about halfway through my pushing, and they set things up, and I don't know what it is because this is my first time delivering this child, first time going through all this. So I was just looking like, okay, I see this, that means the baby's almost here, so it makes me kind of push a little harder. Well, turns out respiratory isn't even supposed to be in the room like that unless they know an emergency is gonna happen. So they knew something was gonna happen. They knew because they had them in there. And so I didn't know this until after I had pushed my child out. He's slowly coming. They see the hair. They say, okay, you need to do a few more last pushes. Come on, you got this. 7:30 and my son comes out. 7:30 p.m. November 11th, 2017, my child makes his way into this world. I was so happy. I was so happy. He came out blue though. He came out, he wasn't breathing. He wasn't breathing. I didn't get my contact with him. Whew, sorry. This is the hardest part for me right here, is that I didn't get that first initial mommy-son bond, that first contact, that first breastfeeding moment, that first hug. I didn't get any of that because he came out not breathing. They had to immediately rush him to the respiratory. Like, as soon as he came out, they took him, and they had to, I wasn't hearing any cries, and I was freaking out. My mom was freaking out, and my husband was freaking out. Like, at that point, we were just like, what's going on? Like, we were all crying. We're all this, and I'm like, you guys need to save my child. Like, what's going on with him? And then they do all these little tests, and they do the like compressions and everything, and he's breathing. He started crying, and that cry just took this big like freaking weight off my chest, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I wanted to hold him, but I couldn't hold him because they needed to rush him to the NICU to get him started on some IVs. And I don't know what's going on with my child. I have no idea what happened. I don't know. So I don't get to know. They take his dad away. He gets to go to the NICU with him, and I don't. They're getting ready to move me over to the postpartum room. I still haven't seen my son, and it's like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I have so many family and friends waiting for me out there, and they all get to go see my child, and I didn't get to see my child. I didn't get to see my child until that following day around the afternoon. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart because I I didn't even get that bond. I was so scared. I was like, okay, so now what? I'm not going to get to breastfeed. I don't get that initial bond. I don't get to latch him. He doesn't even get to eat right away. So at this point, it's afternoon the next day, the 12th. And I finally get to go see my son. I have to be wheelchaired down there, though, just because I can't really walk on my own. So during my delivery, I became anemic. I lost a ton of blood. My iron dropped. I wasn't able to eat. I wasn't able to drink. They had pushed so much medication into me because when you're testing positive for strep B, they immediately put you on penicillin, so that way that medication can go through, so the baby can get that before he comes out. So I was on tons of medication that I literally didn't know what was happening. At around 8:30 or 9 o'clock that night after I had him, I had no idea what was happening. I don't know what was going on. Like, I had the baby and I was freaking out, and I was glad that he was okay, but I was upset at the fact that I couldn't go see him. They took me to the postpartum room. I didn't even really get to talk to anybody. I just was sick. I was throwing up, and I just slept. I slept. I didn't get a good rest because they wake you up maybe every hour and a half to check on you. They have to take your blood. They have to give you certain medications. It was such a long night. And then the next day, the 12th, after he was born, they let me go see him in the afternoon. It was maybe around like 11 o'clock, 11:30. And I finally got to go see him. I had to be in a wheelchair and I had to be brought down there. But I was able to see him. I wasn't able to hold him. And they had so many IVs on him. Like, and I can attach some photos in here too. But they had so many IVs on him, so many little stickers, and it was just so sad and depressing to even look at that. Like, I was like, this is my child hooked up to all these monitors in here, and I can't even take care of him. Like, it just really made the experience 10 times worse. And I was worried about him eating, and I was like, well, what is he gonna eat? I was like, I'm supposed to breastfeed him. How am I gonna get my milk if he can't breastfeed? How am I gonna get him to latch if I can't have him latch right away? Like, I was just thinking of all of these things that are just not part of the process I wanted to do as being a mom. And they gave me a Medela pump, and I was able to just start while my baby was in the NICU. And I got as much as I could. I got little syringes that I would walk down there and I would feed him. And they said that right now the little colostrum is perfect for him. And the way he's being fed right now is through the IVs, and that's enough nutrition and vitamins for now because he can't eat anything. So the 13th, I was able to finally get off all of the monitors I was on. All of the medication was out of my system. I had taken out my catheter. Like, everything was normal, like how it should be. Because after you have a child, usually you can leave like that next day or the day after. So I was finally able to walk down there, and I was able to pick him up, and I was able to hold him. I was able to do that first latch, and I was like, literally, God had my back. Like, God was watching me. God was watching my son. He said, you can do this. He said that this is happening for you. So he helped me with that latch. My son was able to latch successfully, and he was able to help me produce the milk that he needed. And I was able to feed him. So every 2 hours, I would walk back from my room to the NICU, and I was able to feed him. And he would feed for like an hour to 2 hours. It was so exhausting, but I was just so grateful that my son was able to do this successfully, because that was the one thing that scared me the most. Say hi. He's so tired right now, guys. I tried to put him down, and he just wanted to stay up. So he's fighting it, huh? Are you fighting it? But So he had to stay in the NICU. Like, they didn't allow him in my room until the 15th. No, the 14th. It was the 14th of November, and he was finally able to come and sleep in our room. And this was just kind of like a trial run to see if he was okay to go into my room, if he was okay to be off the monitor. So what they were basically looking for is the swelling in his head to go down, and his pulses to be strong, his blood flow to be back to normal. They were just kind of looking for all of these signs, and they were slowly getting him off of certain machines and slowly getting him off of the IVs. And once the IV was to come out is when he could come in. So that was an awesome feeling, being able to have my son right next to my bed in the middle of the night for the very first time. So he slept in the room and everything was fine. I woke up every like 2 hours to feed him, but the fact is that I got to hold him and cuddle him was fantastic. And so we were just monitoring his pees and his poops and his sleep and monitoring everything to make sure he was going to be okay to go home. At this point, we have been in the hospital from the 9th to the 15th. It's not really considered the 9th if it's 2 in the morning, so basically the 10th. But the 15th. To the 15th. And so they came in and they said we're just going to monitor a few more pees and poops, and if he does those, then he can go home. So it was like 11 o'clock in the afternoon on the 15th, and then doctor comes in, and this is what we were looking for. And this is what we were looking for is the good news. Can my son come home? And literally I started crying so bad because they said your son can go home. He's good. We're just going to monitor his jaundice levels, and you guys can just come back for your routine appointments. I was so overwhelmed with joy that I was able to go home and get out of that hospital. Being in that hospital for the time I was in there was not what I wanted. I would let you know though, the nurses that I had my postpartum, they were wonderful. The doctor I had deliver my child, no, I give her 0 out of 5 stars. So in the NICU, they kind of had him laying on his side and they had him on his tummy. We're almost done. So after that whole experience, literally I couldn't. I was so done. I was like, I am never having a child here again. Like, I went and they literally put my baby in danger. And that's terrifying because it's your first child, your first birth. It's like, that should be an experience you cherish forever. That should be an experience that makes you want to have more kids back to back, you know? And she put me in a position to where I didn't want to have any more kids. I was like, if I have to go through this every single time that I'm going to deliver, I don't want any more kids. And that was just terrible for me. I must say though, the entire experience afterwards, the NICU nurses did amazing. They literally made me want to be a NICU nurse. Like, they treated my son so well, the way they put him in his positions, the way they took care of him. They said that he was one of the happiest babies in there, and that he was so good and so calm and so quiet, it just kind of like filled my heart up with joy. It was so much. It was a lot to go through. And I really don't want to go through it again. I do know now, though, if anything was that was to happen again, I would immediately be rushed to C-section. I would know now. I would know if I saw respiratory actions in my room, don't let them proceed. It doesn't always, oh, son. Like, when the respiratory action's in there, it usually doesn't mean that everything is going to be okay. I know C-sections aren't something that you want to just do. Stop it, baby. Look at this, my son. I know C-sections aren't something that anybody wants to have, but if it means having your child come out breathing and you okay, I recommend it, because my mom could have lost both of us. My mom could have lost me, and she could have lost my son. The amount of blood that I lost, it, and the preeclampsia that happened during the labor. Mind you, I was really healthy before I went into this hospital. We both went through it. We both went through it. My son is a survivor. He survived so much, and he came out fighting, and he came out strong. We both did. I will definitely have more kids for sure, because having something like this, someone like this, just the way your heart feels, there's no other feeling in the world than being a mom. So I will say that I am blessed to be where I am today. And I'm blessed to have this little pride and joy in my life, who obviously looks nice and strong and healthy. Look at the chunky cheeks and the chunky legs. And I can dance and stand up, and all those teeth. And I will be posting more videos shortly. Time to go. Thank you all for watching my channel, and stay tuned for my next videos. We will see you next time. Say adios. Adios.